Meeting, Town of Winslow, Maine, Town Council meeting, Tuesday, November 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Regular council meeting. Could I have a roll call vote, please, Lisa?
Yes, good evening. Peter Drappo.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jerry
Yes.
Sorian. Did Jerry say hi?
Yes.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Lisa.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Here. If we all rise and please recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Going into public hearing, ordinance number 12-2021, an amendment to Chapter 3, Article 1, 3-5 of the Winslow Town Code titled Dogs Constituting a Nuisance by adding the underlined and deleting the strike-throughs language in the attached section. Is anybody here for public hearing on ordinance number 12-2021? If no one is public, ordinance number 13-2021, an amendment to zoning chapter 14 by adding section 14-80X titled Photographic Record required by adding the following language. Any applicant for a permit for development within the shoreline zone shall provide to the municipal permitting authority pre-construction photographs and no later than 20 days after completion of the development, post-construction photographs of the shoreline, vegetation, and developmental site. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on ordinance number 13-21? Seeing no one for public comment, I now close the public hearing portion of the meeting. If I could have approval of the minutes from previous, so moved by Ben, seconded by Jeff, October 12th, 2021 minutes. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Unanimous, Lisa, on that. Communications, presentation for Nix Grid Solar.
We should have Daniel Serber here from NextGrid joining us on Zoom.
Hello, thank you so much, Council, for having me on Zoom. I'm really sorry I couldn't be there in person, but had to join my wife on a trip to visit her family, so I really do appreciate it. As many of you have heard, our company is looking to purchase a piece of property at 85 Roderick Road there in Winslow and construct a ground-mounted solar facility. To do this, we would need to switch the zoning for that property to from mixed-use zone to a low-density residential zone. We have gone to the planning board and received initial approval. And we want to give you a quick presentation on what we're planning. But we wanted to say we first have had several meetings with the planning board and spoken to quite a few members of the community. We also held a public information session for anyone that wanted to attend, but mainly aimed towards the butters. There's 40 attendees, so it was highly attended, and people asked some good questions. But in the end of the day, it seemed like there was pretty broad support for the project. From what I could gather, for the zone change from mixed-use residential, which allows as-of-right uses that are a lot more intense than a solar facility, the low-density residential was unanimously liked by the voters. So there's a little mix on the solar, but it seemed like for the most part, people were very much in favor of the project. So if you don't mind, I can share my screen if you guys can see it, or am I audio only?
You should have video, Daniel.
Okay, great. So I have a quick PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to run through.
And you know, Danielle, we permit 10 minutes for the presentation. So.
Okay, so let me go as fast as I can here. So you guys are able to see this?
Yes, we are.
So I've already done the the bulk of the introduction. I do want you to know we are currently in construction or fully permitted with 12 other sites in Maine. The closest one is at Webb Road, just across the river in Waterville. That's on Webb Road, and it's on the north side of the street and on the west of I-95. And so that's 60, maybe 80% done with construction. So what we're proposing is a solar facility with about 17,000 solar panels. We're proposing string inverters, which are quieter than central inverters. We're proposing them to be set back at least 100 feet from the homes. They're gonna be at a height of around 8 feet, and we're planning to well screen the project, so about 50-foot buffer of natural wooded vegetation with a line of evergreens, arborvitae or giant green deer-resistant arborvitae or Leland cypress. Under the panels is going to be native grass pollinators, so it's essentially going to create a meadow. Right now it's some grass in a dirt lot that's pre-construction. There's an approved residential subdivision on the land, so it's more or less been prepped for that. So when we were talking to the butters, the biggest concerns are stormwater and being able to see the project. So I won't get into the details because I only have 10 minutes, but our civil engineer, Rob Bukowski, who's actually on this call, has gotten the site to where it's definitely going to pass DEP stormwater regulations, but also go above and beyond to try to solve some of the abutter concerns. This project, if it goes through, is going to be able to provide jobs to the community. We're able to source staffing directly from the communities we work in through a partnership with People Ready. In addition, savings, so the abutters will be able to save money on their bill through the net energy billing program this project is going to be interconnected to. We're really concentrated on being a good neighbor, and I do want to go into some of that because we did have such a valuable meeting with the community at our community information session, and we're able to make some substantial changes to our site plan to mitigate some abutter concerns. So we've changed our array so that we have additional space between our project and the abutters to the north. We've added extra trees, or added those to the plans to cement our commitment to screening the project. We've changed the stormwater design, and we've adjusted the location of the access road so that as many neighbors can be happy with the project as possible. Again, other projects, there's the medium density residential is allowed as right with mixed use zoning, as is mobile home parks, warehouses, and with special permit things like fast food restaurants and other kinds of commercial development. So having a quiet, screened neighbor like solar seems to be pretty palpable to the community. And after this is gone, the only things that will be able to go in are other things that are permitted with low density residential. So we believe that we've done just about everything that we can to make this a good project for our neighbors in the Roderick Road area in Winslow. So we are requesting to change the zone, and that's what we do need from the council. If we receive a zone change, then we'll need to go obtain a special permit from the planning board. So the project itself will go through more rounds of scrutiny from both the community and the planning board. But what we need from council is the zone change seems to have really universal support from everyone we talk to. I'll bring up the site plan. I think I need to change the screen. So this was the original site plan that we brought to the neighbors. I just want to show that we've changed it. So you can see there's extra separation here. We've changed the location of the entryway as it was asked to not be between these two lots. So, we have a longer run to our inverters, but, again, it's just part of our commitment to the abutters. These areas you see are actually wetlands replication areas that are required by the DEP. So there'll be some wetlands, some native plants and ponding areas within the site. And then we'll have the wooded buffer around here, and then arborvitaes right against our fence. So that should screen the project fully from the abutting neighbors. Blue Jay Way, there is a plan to finish some of the subdivision here. So we'll also have that buffer between the future residents of Blue Jay Way. So I think I can just open it up to questions, as we don't have a lot of time.
Great. Thank you, Danielle, very much. Go ahead, Ben, question from the
I've
council.
got two quick ones for you. I'm Ben Butchell. I noticed you got a 100-foot setback from the abutters. Is that enough, 100 feet? And what did they say about that when you had the meeting with them?
So they appreciated that we offered them quite a bit more buffer than what was required in the bylaw. There was a few areas to the parcels to the north that were less than 100 feet, so we did adjust our plans to accommodate them. And it's quite a bit more feet to the residential structures themselves. So during the public information session, there was no specific pushback that we received either on that hearing or via email.
I get my next question is what is it now zoned as, that area?
It's a mixed use zoning,
It is mixed use? And you want to change it to?
low density residential.
Thank you.
So, yeah. I believe in Winslow, low density residential and industrial allow solar with a special use permit, so we're going with lower density of the two potential zones.
Go ahead, Erica. Thank you, Danielle.
Daniel, I just had a quick question. You referenced the holding ponds, the wetland ponds. Are those going to mitigate any of the current drainage issues that exist on that parcel?
So, no, those are to mitigate some issues that the previous owners had, issues they had with the DEP. So that's not specifically intended to mitigate the stormwater issues on site. If I can let Rob speak if he wants to talk specifically, or you want more information about how we do plan to mitigate some of the issues that are going on. But that's not the purpose of stormwater.
Yeah,
that's not the purpose of the wetland replication.
Gotcha. The question was regarding, it seems that one of the major concerns has been from abutters that are on that one side of the property, that there are existing problems with drainage going into their properties, and they're worried that this will make it worse.
Sure. So I'm going to let Rob talk. He's been talking directly to some of the more informed abutters that have been dealing with these issues for quite some time. Go ahead, Rob.
Thanks, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I guess a couple of things. I mean, one of the ways the wetland replication isn't intended to directly affect stormwater. However, if you see the site now, it's basically been clear cut. So restoring these areas to vegetated wetlands will actually help just as an overall surface cover, help with erosion. It'll help mitigate some of the stormwater. But what we're planning on doing is essentially building a berm. The groundwater at the site is very shallow. So we can't build big detention ponds, but excuse me, what we're planning to do is build a berm on the eastern side of the site that will ultimately redirect some of the stormwater so it won't go towards those eastern abutters.
Thank you, Rob.
Jeff, go ahead.
Isn't this considered spot zoning?
No, because we're talking, that would be a contract zone. We're looking at changing this to...
Well, I'm actually wondering why we're not going with a contract zone versus changing that one, for better lack of a word, that's one lot now, which to me would be spot zoning.
I think that the best person to ask about that is actually no longer with us, and the second best person would be Hillary Keene. My understanding, though, was that it wasn't mixed use, that it was already a high-density residential, but again, I didn't look at the map. I was just going off what Adam gave me. The low-density residential, this project would be allowed. We just also have to get, in addition to the zoning change, a conditional use permit in addition to that. So, I mean, it would be at the council's pleasure if you wanted to go with a contract zone versus an actual rezoning of the area. My understanding is that a lot of the residents are in favor of it becoming a low-density residential versus a mixed-use or high-density residential area. But again, we'll have the public hearing on this on the 29th.
It was basically just food for thought is all
Right.
at this point.
So,
Yes, I understand.
planning board could make that recommendation, or we could send it back to planning board asking why it wouldn't be better served to be a contract zone. I know we wanted to get away from contract zones just because of all the issues we've had with the ones in the
But
past.
to me, this is almost similar to what we did up at Crow Road, or Orion Road. Yeah, we wanted to change just one small section, and everybody, oh no, you can't do that in spot zoning. We need to go with the contract, that's where the whole contract zone thing started with us.
Yeah, but there's nothing that says we can't, in fact, label something spot zone. I can understand wanting to make that low-density residential, whereas when these wear out and they decide not to replace them, that stays low-density residential instead of a contract zone where you could build a warehouse there amongst all those houses.
Well, a contract zone's whatever you put in the contract.
Yeah, but
Could still be mixed use,
I'm
once
in
it comes
favor
out of
of
the
doing
contract.
anything we can not to muddy the waters. And let this project-
Well, that's what I'm trying to do, is not muddy the waters.
Bill Lee I have already consulted with him on the initial request for the change. He brought up nothing about spot zoning or that being questionable. He did mention again, we wanted to stay away from contract zoning if at all possible. But again, the questions can be asked. I can go back to Bill Lee and get his opinion on it as well, as to which way we would be better served in this.
My only concern was somebody coming up saying, well, that's spot zoning, and you wouldn't let us do it here, but you're letting them do it. I'm just asking the question.
I understand. I think it may be the size of the tract of land we're looking at as well. But again, I will ask the questions.
Thank you, that's all I wanted.
The only go ahead, Lee.
Yes, I just have one question, Daniel. You had stated in the beginning of your presentation, just looking for some clarification. The question that I had was, you had stated that you were purchasing the parcel of land, or is this parcel being leased?
Yes, so that was a question and at our public information session, I can confirm that we have a option to purchase this piece of land. And I have that document ready, so I'm sure I can provide you a redacted version if you'd like to see it.
So is NextGen's option favorable to purchase rather than lease?
Well, I mean, if we lease the property from the owners, it just doesn't make sense to them to lease it to us as, they won't want to develop it 20 years from now. I'm not sure if it's favorable. I'd have to ask the finance people at my office, but we prefer to purchase, so that's what we want to do.
All right, thank you. I was just looking for clarification.
Yeah, decommissioning after 20 years, if, say, you get out of the business and solar farm, what's the plan for decommissioning or removal of the equipment after the so-called?
Yeah, so the DEP passed a rule that any project that hasn't started construction by October of this year, so obviously we haven't, has to provide the main DEP with the decommissioning plan and financial assurance, so a bond or a letter of irrevocable credit. So that'll be placed with the DEP unless you choose for us to place that bond with you in Winslow. It'll supersede the need to provide a bond to the DEP. We'll just need to provide them proof of that. So it'll be bonded one way or another, but that's going to be up to you guys with the planning board to make that a condition.
Okay, okay. Just to go over the schedule, proposed schedule that Erica put out today, November 8th, which is today, we published a public hearing for November 29th, and we just mailed those to the abutters.
We didn't actually mail it today because I wanted to get planning board members to confirm they will all be there.
Okay.
And I only have 2 of them absolutely confirmed, but we do still have time. We've got to have
Okay.
14 days notice, so look to get those out as
Okay.
quickly as possible this week.
And tentatively, November 29th, tentative now, the whole joint public hearing with the planning board, December 6th, published notice of public hearing on conditional use permit, December 16th, and then mail again notice to abutters, December 6th, planning board meeting and vote, December 13th, council meeting, first reading, December 14th, special meeting, second reading, December 16th, special meeting, planning board, public hearing on vote of conditional use. So that's a tentative schedule that we have, and I believe it'll be posted on the webpage.
Once I get everything confirmed, it will be on the webpage. It will also be on our Facebook page. And of course, the notices that go out have to go through the paper.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for all that, Erica. I know it's been a challenge. So.
Kind of trying to work my way backwards. So I'm hoping, Daniel and Rob, that date of the 16th, if we can have the final vote on conditional use, then that gives you all enough time to do what you need to do, assuming all of the votes go in your favor between now and then.
Yes, that would be perfect.
Any other further questions? Jerry, go ahead.
What is the life expectancy of the solar farm?
Yes, so the initial contract we have with the state and CMP is for 20 years. There is hope that there'll be a 5-year renewal period after that, so we anticipate 25 years, but only 20 years is guaranteed.
So the next question I got is, what are the panels made of?
So they're mostly sand and silicone. We have a full ingredients list that's provided to us by the panel manufacturer, but there are no harmful chemicals in modern solar panels. I know in some of the older renditions there was a chemical called cadmium, but we do not use panels that have cadmium. So it's a non-toxic solar panel. Yep.
Any further questions?
No, we got one more.
Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
My last question is, who's gonna remove these panels? I know you're looking at a bond, maybe to the town. What happens if that bond doesn't cover the removal?
So we 100% intend to be able to remove them ourselves, so the bond will never need to be called in. And if the bond is called in, I believe it's proposed at somewhere between $180,000 and $210,000. That includes recycling and salvage fees. But again, this is private land, so it's not going to be on town land. So this is pretty much to eliminate a blight if the solar goes out of business and the land has no future use. We anticipate that this land in Winslow is not, people are going to want to own that land in the future, and it's going to need to be cleaned up. So, I'm not sure what I can say if it doesn't cover, but the hope and the anticipation is that this isn't going to be an issue, and this land is going to be cleaned up to be repurposed either for conservation or low-density residential homes.
Any further questions?
I'm all set.
All set, Jerry, Rocky? One of the things I was thinking about earlier today was perhaps, I know you're 80% done construction up on the Webb Road. Through Erica, if you could, I'd like to go up and take a look, walk the land with you if that's possible, and, take a peek at it. Through Erica, if you could set up a little tour, maybe a time period where we could, people that are interested could go up and take a quick look up at the Webb Road, if that's possible.
Yeah, let me know. I know we might have something there on the 29th, so that morning we can do, or if you are talking about getting residents or other people there, we can try to figure out a Saturday or something to go up there.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any interest, but I know I'm interested myself, so just to take a quick tour of the facility. So if you can set something up, maybe. Okay, thank you very much. If there's no further questions, we'll go on. Just a really quick presentation by myself on the Fort Halifax Park.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're all
Thank
set,
you.
Daniel, thank
Thank
you.
you, Daniel, thank you,
All
Rob.
right, thanks.
Yeah. Erica, did you bring that up on the screen again?
Can I bring this up on the screen? I don't know. Can-
Fort Halifax Park.
Oh, the Fort Halifax, sorry.
Yep, sorry. Yeah,
I was not, I was still stuck on the other.
That's okay. That's no problem. This is just a really quick informational thing, so it'll only take a few minutes. First of all, that is the master plan for Fort Halifax Park. Could you bring it up just a little bit to try to get it to...
Where do you?
That's good right there. Actually, as you can see on the lower lower left-hand corner, the dark box, that is the existing blockhouse. And so as you go north, you can see where the officers' quarters is. Erica, could you bring the arrow? That's the officers' quarters there. If you go to the right of that, that's the second blockhouse. And then coming again south, that is the enlisted men quarters, and the railroad runs through that. And obviously well, not obviously, but a gatehouse there where the main gate was for the thing. Next picture. As part of the conceptual plan, the idea was to outline the fort, the entire fort, in granite posts or posts. What we have done, as you can see in the next step is the Friends of Fort Halifax has been working with Amanda McCaslin and Erica, and we have a meeting with the state on, what we would like you to do is add another 3 granite posts to the existing 3 granite posts that we have there, outlining the fort. So we would like to additionally put in 3 additional granite posts to outline the officers' quarters. So, and then put granite curbing at the existing post in the circumference of the fort. Go ahead, next picture.
I think it's just on delay. It's up on my screen.
Okay. Yeah, go to the next one. We don't have to do that one.
Not this one?
No, next one.
It's just taking its time.
Yep, and that is on the, where the gatehouse is, that's the existing post that we put in, that's a flush mount post to the ground. And what we would do is to, in the bottom piece, put a piece of curbing, granite curbing, heading down toward the other second blockhouse, and another granite curbing heading toward the fort itself. Next picture. And that is the eastern corner of the blockhouse. That's where the second blockhouse is, obviously. And we would be adding granite also, perpendicular to the officers' quarters, and then perpendicular back to the gatehouse. Flush mount granite on the ground. Next picture. And you can see that's where the officers' quarters is. There's on the right-hand side, that's a granite to the second blockhouse, and that's where we would add the additional 3 posts, and in the future some granite, but we would be outlining that officers' quarters, and we'd also put nomenclature on the granite too. So that's the plan. Next picture. Sorry about and then again, you can see one of the posts, and we'd be adding granite perpendicular to the right of that, and then coming down. Next picture. And that's just the northwest corner in the officers' quarters. Go ahead, next picture. And that is the gate there, and to the right of that, that granite post there, that is where the second blockhouse was one of the perpendicular points. So it would interfere. We've worked with Amanda and we've involved Paul to some extent, so that it wouldn't be a safety hazard, nor would it obstruct any vehicles coming into the park. Next picture.
This is why we're installing Ethernet in this room.
That's it. Good idea. I'm gonna go past my time limit.
Yeah, you are, you're almost there.
I mean, it's up on
Just
the.
pass.
I'm gonna stop my video.
That's okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I disconnected, that's why.
That's okay, that's no problem. And it's just an informational, the Friends of Fort Halifax funding the whole project, so there's no tax dollars involved. The Friends of Fort Halifax, their goal is to have it completed by Fort Halifax Days next year. So if there's any question, oh, there's the other one, and you can see the existing blockhouse to the lower left-hand portion, the gatehouse is to the right lower. The enlisted men quarters is going north, second blockhouse, and then the officers' quarters, and then the two sentry posts up on top, one at Fort Cemetery, the other one by Monument Street. Any questions that the council has in regard to the project, and also we can move
Good
forward.
job.
Good job, Rick.
So that, there was a blockhouse where the cemetery is. I
There
mean,
was a
yeah.
sentry post,
No
yes.
kidding.
Yep, and then another one. You know, my understanding is a sentry post. That sentry post there has an excellent, where the Fort Cemetery has excellent view looking up toward the Sebasquik River.
Okay.
And then the other one would be looking up the Kennebec River.
Yeah.
And then the plains, because everything, if you notice in the pictures, the first thing they did was cut every wood so they could get visibility for as far as they could go, plus for wood also, so the closer they had. So there were no trees, so. Any other questions? If there's no questions, we'll move on. Presentation of retirement plaque to Mo Labby.
Okay. I'm going to let Paul do the real speaking, but as we mentioned at our last meeting, we were losing Mo Labby to retirement after 39 years. We have produced a plaque for Mo. It's a nice plaque with our 250th anniversary coin in the top. It says, Maurice Mo Labby, in appreciation for your service and dedication to the Public Works Department of the town of Winslow, Maine. Years of service, 39 years, August 12th, 1982 to October 14th of 2021. Paul, do you want to say anything?
I would. I guess on behalf of all the employees at Public Works and hopefully the residents of Winslow, I'd like to thank Mo for his many, many years of service. He's definitely going to be missed. With 39 years, he had a hand in a lot of things, both big and small, that happened in these years. A very big resource for us, for myself especially, having been here all these years. A lot of institutional knowledge. It's going to kind of go away with him, but I also wish him the best in his retirement, good health and a lengthy retirement, and I hope he comes back to visit once in a while. We do miss him. He's a very, very nice guy, a very nice person to do. So thank you very much, Mo, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Any other further comment by the council? No further, we'll go to reports of committees and commissions, town managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just pull up my report. So October was another busy month. Doesn't seem like we've slowed down at all these days. Obviously, the hot topic we've had here is staffing. In October, as we just stated, we said goodbye to Mo Labby. We also said goodbye to our code enforcement officer, Adam Bradstreet, and Bette Bouchard was our code and assessing clerk. She resigned so she could focus on her health and family, and we're going to miss all three of them. Some moves that happened subsequent to those departures, Trevor Tucker has now moved up to senior equipment operator, taking Mo Labby's place over at Public Works. Trevor's very smart and capable. I think he's going to do a great job in this position. So congratulations to him. Audra Fleury took over Bette's duties in code and assessing, but she is also retaining the tax collector duties. She's going to be working directly under Judy. Should be a really good fit, as those two functions dovetail nicely, and Audra may have some aspirations to be an assessor sometime down the road, so this will be a good mentorship program for her as well. That leaves the front office empty in her seat, as well as we just had our part-time person turn in her resignation. So we have advertised for a front office finance clerk. We have 10 applications for that position right now. We're going to be interviewing this Wednesday, the 10th, and we're going to be interviewing again on the 16th next week, because we had to split the interviews into 2 days. Actually, I got an 11th candidate today, so that's good news. So, of course, we'll be asking if one of those people wants to accept part-time work, but there were some really good resumes in that grouping. So, hopefully, we should be able to get some good folks in there. The interim part-time code enforcement officer was offered to Amos Michaud. Amos is a 2021 graduate of KVCC, and he's been working as Madison's part-time CEO for a couple of months now. He apprenticed under David Savage in Oakland, and he will start working for us this coming Monday, the 15th, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, full days. And he will also be covering our planning board meetings. Just as a side note on planning board, Bill Lee will also be attending planning board meetings for at least the first couple while Amos is getting his feet wet, to make sure we're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. We do have an ongoing selection process for equipment operator, truck driver, for the police officer, and for the full-time code officer position, and for the new executive assistant position that you all authorized in the budget, the part-time position. Public Works will be conducting interviews for the equipment operator, truck driver, and that was at the time of this, at the time of writing. I'm not sure if Paul's been able to have some of those interviews yet. I knew they were upcoming. I believe Paul said he had 3 candidates for that. And we've got executive assistant interviews tomorrow. We have 4 candidates for that position. We're still looking for applicants for the police officer and the CEO. We've had no applications for those, and we did advertise for planning board membership as well, and have had no takers on that. But there has been some other stuff that's gone on in addition to staffing. Staffing certainly takes a large part of our attention right now, but we've got some good news. We did hear from Senator Collins and Senator King's offices that the application we submitted for congressional earmark funding has been approved. That's for Chaffee Brook Pump Station. The approval is provisional pending the passage of the federal budget, but assuming that we get a federal budget passed, that money will be in there. So that's a pretty big hurdle for us and a big accomplishment to get one of those awards. Construction is slowing down now, so that's both good and bad news, I guess. It means the weather's getting colder, but we should start having a little bit more free-flowing traffic. We were lucky to get the first course of paving out here on Benton Avenue. We were worried that wasn't going to happen based on Pike not having full crews and not being able to get to us, but it is done and striped, and I believe we're curbing this week. On October 20th, I held my first coffee with the manager meeting with the help of Central Maine Growth Council. It generated a lot of interest. The Morning Sentinel ran a story on it, Channel 5 News ran a story on it, and we did have about 20 people show up for our first session. Had a lot of good discussion. We focused pretty much on town facilities, especially the fire department, Bay Street beautification and development, and what kind of town events would be good to bring into the town. We came out of the meeting with a garden club and had 8 participants at the end of the meeting, and I believe she's now up to 18 volunteers to start doing some plantings and beautification around the town, so that's pretty exciting. And Susan Dutil will be the one heading that effort up. So I'm really excited about what that'll do for our downtown curb appeal. Not downtown, we don't have one, but for our main business corridor. There was also a lot of discussion about what type of events people would like to see coming into Fort Halifax Park. Things like a Christmas festival, a concert in the park series next year. And a lot of people wanted the fireworks back, and I did express that would, one, take a lot more than town funding to do. We'd need a lot of sponsorship to make that happen, and also we would have to, really discuss what kinds of problems that came with in the past and how we could mitigate them in the future. So the next one's going to be held December 1st, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a good, it's been well received. And last for news, our heat pumps were installed in October. Obviously, there's one sitting right there. The biggest benefit so far has been the air in the Parks and Rec area. That musty, dank smell is really being helped with the heat pumps. So, updates on our projects that are going on. The town office parking lot is, I say halfway complete because we haven't done our final course of paving. That will happen in the spring. But we have our digital sign up and running. The curbing is placed. The handicap spots are already placed now. The rest of the parking spaces we aren't going to mark until later. But that's pretty much, it's pretty much where it's going to be until spring at this point, but it's looking pretty good. Our new town website, they are still in the process of migration, so we're pretty much on track. We were looking at about a 4-month start to finish on that. So they've been in communication, and they're working on getting everything set up for us to start beta testing. The Bangor Times system, when I sent you my report, we were looking at starting this coming Monday, November 8th. Because of our staffing challenges, Tanya's had to push that back one more pay period to get it off the ground. But we have all the staff are fully trained at this point. And Dude Solutions, I start working with the developers on that middle of this month. And I don't have any further upgrades on the environmental study at the junior high. I've reached out to Craig again to try and see where he's at. And then last, our phone system upgrade is happening this Thursday, which is Veterans Day, but I'm going to come in so we can get that done, and that'll be exciting as well. So that's about all I've got for you this month.
Thank you, Erica, thank you. And I think from Erica and I and the entire council, I'd like to give a thanks for Lisa Gilliam for the election and the time she put into the election to make it run smoothly, and all the volunteers up there. Lisa, thank you very much for that effort. And
Thank you, Ray, and thank you to all of our clerks. They did a wonderful job.
moving on to, yep, go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Erica, how do things stand on the sidewalk the sidewalk from the track up through, I think the Victor have done? Are they gonna continue bringing that up through the school? Because those sidewalks there are a mess.
I believe those are scheduled for the spring. Paul, would you like to address that?
Yeah, I think right now, most of the sidewalks, what isn't done is probably not gonna get done till spring, but we are gonna maintain the existing ones. Some of them are a little bit rough, we may have to patch them. But it's our intention to keep everything open for the winter, so that's where we are right now. It's not gonna be pretty for some areas, but we will get that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Erica?
I do have one for Paul. Paul, how are we looking on Lee Street?
Lee Street right now, I'm expecting the contractor to get in there this week. I was told they were gonna be there. We dig saved it last week. We've cut the pavement, so they should be here any day.
Okay.
It should be about 2 weeks to get that.
Thank you.
Department reports. Any questions on department reports? If there are no questions, I'll take a motion to accept all department reports. First by Ben, second by Jerry. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, department reports. Moving on now to public comment. Oh, sorry. Peter, would you, I know you wanted some time on the communications.
Just to give you a quick update on some things that are happening in school. Parent-teacher conferences are taking place right now at the elementary school. The high school accreditation visiting committee completed their report. They came to the high school course, it's a pretty important piece because you want to have your high schools accredited. And they gave high praise for the high school in all areas that was reviewed. And it was really great to hear positive things about your high school during a time when there's so much negativity around everything else. So that was a refreshing review with all of us. I don't say this tongue in cheek. I'm very serious. We've had no positive cases of COVID in the schools in the last 3 days. That's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And I say that in all sincerity because for the past 19, 20 months, we've been constantly having cases that we've had to deal with. Now, I don't want to jinx myself. We may have 4 cases tomorrow, but none for the last 3 days. You probably know that the boys soccer team were runners-up in the Class B state championship game that took place on Saturday. They had an outstanding season. Of course, they won the Northern. Thank you to the fire and police for giving them the escort when they came home from the Northern that night. It was very special. We very much appreciated that. Very much a community effort, so I appreciate that. Boys football team is playing for the Northern Maine Championships this Saturday. They're going to play Herman. We wish them the best of luck, so they get 2 more games in, that one and then the next one, which will be the state championships, of course. And I guess the last thing that I would offer is that we continue to offer in-person learning 5 days a week. We're still in session. We're still in school. It's not without a tremendous amount of work and dedication to overcome many of the barriers. You've mentioned not being able to find people. We can't find people either. So when people are out, we make do, and we reorganize and make do from within. And that comes at the cost of everybody's time. You've got somebody sitting in the back right there who's the director of maintenance who is also driving the bus for us, and had to pitch in last week because there was custodians out. It's everybody on deck, and that's taken place with teachers. It's taken place with everyone. So it's been a tremendous effort to keep the schools going, and I'm very proud of everyone who's doing the work. Thank you.
Any questions for Peter while he's up there? Peter, if you could hang on a minute, just in case there's any questions. Any questions for Peter? No questions for Peter?
Now you can leave.
Now you can.
I thought there would be.
Oh, wait a minute.
We're just moving to public comment. Doesn't look like there's anybody here for public comment. Did anybody put in a letter or any request for public comment?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay, sounds good. Table business, ordinance 7, 2020.
Pass
Three,
those.
just we'll put those, keep those right on the table. Old business, order number 29-2021, providing for the authorization of the town manager to prepare a quit claim deed which will allow the transfer of property located on Randall Road, identified tax map 4, lot 104-B, for the fair market value of $7,500. What's the pleasure
So
of the
moved.
council? So moved by Jeff, seconded by Jerry. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, we'll have a roll call vote. Lisa, please, on order number 29-2021.
Yes, Peter Drappo,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Gary Clarion.
Yes.
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Seth West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Ray Garrett.
Yes.
Order passes 7-0.
New business, ordinance number 12-2021, providing for an amendment, Chapter 3, Article 1, 3-5 of the Winslow Town Code titled Dogs, constituting a nuisance by adding the underlined and deleting the strike-through language in the attached section.
So moved.
Second?
Jerry first and seconded by Ben. Any discussion?
Yes. I got a question, basically for the chief. If such sounds recur in steady, rapid succession for 5 minutes or more, recur intermittently for 1 hour or more, that, I'll say phrase, I'm a little, should we look at rewording this some?
Suppose we can take that right out and add
You did.
That's coming out, Jerry.
it.
That is?
Yeah, see,
That's what the problem was.
Yeah, see, the underline, see, those have been taken out and the new stuff has been put in.
I'm going?
That's what you're looking at.
I'm looking at this
I
one.
know, but this is the change.
Yeah.
That was the problem. We had people that they knew how long it was, and they were going right to the time when it was driving me just crazy. So now, anytime it's disturbing someone's peace, we can make an assessment.
Right, because when I read this, right, I got this one, I go,
I agree.
I'll agree. So if it's knocked out, I don't have a problem.
Okay, if there's no public, is there any further questions on, if there's no further question, Lisa, ordinance number 12-221, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Peter Drapo,
Yes?
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Yes,
Gary Clarion,
yes,
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ordinance 12-2021 passes
Is that two
7-0.
It's required to have two readings, and you cannot pass, waive the second reading on that.
I didn't know if we could because we already had the public comment.
Right, we can't because it's an ordinance.
Okay.
Ordinance number 13-2021, providing for an amendment to zoning chapter 14 by adding section 14-80X, titled photographic record required, by adding the following language. Any applicant for a permit for the development within the shoreline zone shall provide to the municipal permitting authority pre-construction photograph and no later than 20 days after completion of the development, post-construction photograph of the shoreline vegetation development site.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? If there is no discussion, Lisa, could we have an ordinance, could we have a roll call on ordinance 13-2021?
Peter Drapo,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Gary Clarion.
yes,
Joseph Gravel,
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
7-0.
Order number 31-2021, providing for the authorization for the town manager to sign a 3-year contract with the Maine Association of Police, MAP, representing Winslow Police Department, sworn personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Lee. Discussion? If there's no discussion, Lisa, could we have a roll call vote on 31-2021?
Yes, I heard it was seconded by Lee. Who was first?
I think Ben was. Oh, no, Jeff
Ben
was,
was.
I'm sorry. Jeff was.
Yeah, thank you. Roll call. Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Gary Clarion.
yes,
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
7-0.
Order number 32-2021, providing for authorization to change the part-time administration position authorized in the FY 2022 budget to a full-time executive position with a salary range of $18 to $24
So
an hour.
moved.
Jeff,
Second.
first by Jeff, seconded by Lee. Discussion? If there is no discussion, can we have a roll call vote, please, Lisa, on 32-2021?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Gary Clarion.
yes,
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion we forego second reading on this.
On order number 32-2021, there's a motion on the floor to bypass the second reading,
I second it.
seconded by Peter. Any discussion? If there is no discussion for the second reading on order number 32-2021, can we have a roll call vote for a second to bypass the second reading, please?
Peter Drapo.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion.
yes,
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Order 32-2021 passes 7-0.
Order number 33-2021, providing for amendment allocating bond proceeds to elementary school expansion.
So moved.
Second.
First by Jeff, seconded by Lee. Discussion? Go ahead, Ben.
I've got a couple of questions on this. How much money is left from the original bond? You may have to come up here.
Peter, could you go up to the podium, please?
I don't know if you want to.
Downloaded that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please sign that, please. Please sign that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I had prepared some talking points. I don't know if you want me to go over them, because I would hit some of the things that we talked
That's
about.
what we'd
Ben.
like to get to.
If you want me to
Yes.
go over those, okay. So just some bulleted points. Many school districts across the state and the country, for that matter, have received federal funding in support of schools as a result of the pandemic, and that's what this is federal funding in support of that. First wave was intended to provide support for schools to get open, and I've got a list of things that we've done. If you're interested, I can share all of those with you, but that was the first wave. The second wave had many of the same allowable uses, but the focus was on learning loss, and we're focusing on that right now. The third wave continued a focus on learning loss, but also shifted the focus to the future and looked at ways in which to sustain learning if we should ever be faced with this kind of situation again. And one of the allowable uses of funds is to address additional space many school districts needed to address the social distancing requirements. Winslow is a prime example of the intended use of these funds when it comes to capital improvements. The funds are designed to provide additional space to meet student instructional needs and through a full return to school plan, which we're in. As you know, we are a very efficient school district now that we have a two-building campus. We don't have additional classrooms to expand in order to meet the social distancing requirements that caused us and many school districts across the state huge barriers to getting all kids in school. Our enrollment numbers have increased at the elementary school due to the fact that our sixth grade is now there, so that's tightened that right up. In addition, I should mention to you that we have probably a little over 40 students right now taking advantage of homeschooling because of COVID. A lot of those students are elementary school kids. Once COVID is over and those kids want to come back, I don't have a place to put those students. We don't have a classroom to put them in because we're so tight. The application that we've done, we've put a lot of work into this, but the funding is online for everybody to see. You can go to our website, you can look at that, it's all right there. We've shared this information in our board meetings. We've tried to keep the council informed as well as we've gone through this process. We have a request for competitive bid waiver by both the Commissioner of Education and Elaine Clark, the Acting Director of the Bureau of General Services. That's huge. It's only offered in emergency services. We were able to receive one. Why that's great news for us is that we can use the same architect and we can use the same construction firm that did the work in 2018. They're very familiar with the building. They did an outstanding job for us. The waiver saved us a great deal of time, which is also important, for we must have everything completed before September of 2024. That's when you have to expend this money. The project has a start date of April of 2022, completion date of February of 2023. And if you want to hear some things that we've done with the monies to date, I can share that, but I'll just keep going with the talking points. All of the funding that we've used or that is to be used has to go through an application process which needed to be approved by the state. There were many boxes that needed to be checked in order for what I'm presenting to you this evening to occur. To cut to the quick, all of the boxes have been checked. Our application is ready to be submitted for approval. One final piece, which is the amendment, which is what we have on the agenda this evening. So, Ben, to get to your question, our application indicates that we'll use $1.9 million of the ESSER 3 funds towards this. The 1.9 won't cover the complete cost of the project. We're hoping to rely on the remaining bond money in addition to the ESSER 3 funds to make this a reality. We have approximately $740,000, Ben, remaining in that bond. Our request to the council is to use the $740 to help with the cost of the addition and to address some of the much-needed paving at the elementary school. We had talked to Paul Fongamy earlier. We looked at that this past year. He had said it was about $189,000 to pave that elementary school parking lot, which Shelley's been here. I've been here 13 years. Shelley's been here a lot longer than me. She said that parking lot hasn't been touched for at least 21 years. So it's in pretty rough shape. If you've been in the parking lot around the superintendent's office where people park, it's in pretty rough shape as well, and it would include that. And Shelley, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would include those areas as well. That's not an amount that we easily can budget for in the regular budget. It's something that we could use with this bonds money, but it's as you know, budgets are always tight. We're very confident that we can get this done if we have these funds in order to make this work. And it would put our facilities in outstanding shape. You have a junior high school that's in really good shape. You have an elementary school that would be in good shape. You'd have parking facilities, and you'd be in really good shape with your schools. So, we've been working with Ledgewood Construction. We've been working with Stephen Blatt. They've worked out a pre-construction schedule for you to review. I think you've received that. The firm has preliminary drawings in anticipation that this project would be a go. There's deadlines to meet, as you know. So basically, that's cutting to the quick with bulleted points. I'll answer anything that you have.
One other question, Peter. This is going to add how many classrooms? Is it going to do a full two-story addition on that wing?
It's a full two-story addition on the footprint that was originally designed to have a full wing.
Yep.
So it's a full two-story additions with a few small office spaces and some bathrooms.
So 4 additional, whoops, sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Peter, if, when this addition is complete, is this being designed so if we have to add on again, we can continue going?
That's exactly how it's being designed. Yeah,
Okay.
so that you can just keep going out with it. That is
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Yep. I've got a few more questions.
Yep, go ahead,
I'm
no,
gonna give
yep.
up on that. Okay, according to this, the total project cost just for the addition was $2,055,000.
Those are preliminary costs.
Okay,
Yep.
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 And COVID funds have kicked in 1.9 is what you're saying? Okay. And how much was the parking lot, 180?
Oh, well, and when I spoke to Paul, he said prices are going up, so you probably should plan on 200.
Yeah, okay, that's the point I was going to make.
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have plans for the additional, looks like there's around $400,000 there. That's after you get the paving done and the project done?
That's,
Or like maybe $350,000?
that's where that buffer would be, so that if costs run up a little bit, we'd have plenty of money to do that.
Okay.
The other thing with that, and I don't want to make promises, but the other thing with that is if we apply that 740 towards the parking lot and the construction, of course, if things really bubbled, you still have an emergency piece there where you can say, okay, hold off on the parking lot. If things continue to bubble, you still have the funds. But the other thing to that is if you could use that 740 and save some of that 1.9 ESSER, you can apply that perhaps to help with other pieces next year as well with the school. An example of that would be learning loss. So as we look at budgeting for the following year and we look at what are some of the things that we need, we know right now that we're into a math curriculum that we need to have. So some of those ESSER funds may be something that we can apply towards that math curriculum if we can demonstrate that is to address learning loss, and you can write it in that way.
One other question, Peter. The funds that we have left over, that $700,000 from the initial job, the initial bond, that has to be spent on the schools, doesn't it?
What was voted on was to be spent on the schools, yes,
Yeah.
because that was the addition to the junior, senior high
Yeah.
and modifications to the elementary, and this is an extension to the modifications to the elementary school.
Thank you, Peter.
Go ahead, Lee.
Peter, just a quick question. When these preliminary designs were done, as far as cost-wise, essentially there's 4 classrooms, two on the second floor, 2 on the first floor.
Yes.
Were any preliminary designs ever done for, instead of just 4, maybe 8 classrooms, 2 additional on each floor, and what kind of additional cost it would have done?
We did not, because we felt as though, when we looked at the ESSER funds, we knew we had to spend 20% of our allocation towards learning recovery, learning loss. So we looked at what we had remaining for funds, and what we had remaining was about that 1.9.
Okay.
And so we didn't feel as though we could afford any more than those 4 classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're already doing the construction, I mean, I know a substantial additional amount you would require, but I mean, it wouldn't be like as if you're building from scratch, like on a new addition like this.
Right. It's going to be easy to add on to it at some point in the future if you had to.
But I'm just like, if we're spending $2 million now, how much would it have actually been to add the additional now versus if we did it down the road?
Right. I don't know.
Okay.
We didn't go there.
So there's only actually 4 classrooms going in on this addition, only a part of an addition then, right?
Correct.
A part of a wing.
Right.
But room for expansion,
Oh,
engineering
no,
for
it's true.
expansion.
Any,
I'm all set.
all set, Lee?
Thank you.
Jeff, you all set? All set?
So I noticed,
Anybody else?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. I noticed that we have on Order 33, 2021, who sponsored this?
I'm sorry, Jerry, I'm not.
On the order, right? 33-2021, there's no sponsor. It's basically,
Administration.
Erica has
It's
something to say.
administration. So the order was written by the attorney to make sure that we had everything absolutely correct. That just got missed in transferring it over into our own form. We didn't put on there that it's who was sponsoring it, but it is administration.
Is there any further questions or discussions?
I got just one
Yeah.
more
Go
for
ahead.
Erica.
Yeah.
At the bottom of that, it states that the town manager is hereby authorizing and empowered in the name of the town, to deliver and approve all design, engineering, construction, and other agreements and contracts, assignment certificates, and other documents. In other words, are we giving her the power to do all of this for the school without coming back to ask for council's approval? According to that, once we say yes, you've got it, we don't have another say how the funds are spent.
We're being told right now.
I understand that, but if something comes up in the process, I just got that question, I don't know, that's the way I read it.
Right now, you're approving the school's plan. I'm not going to alter their plan. You're approving the spending of the additional money that's remaining on the bond towards the school addition and the parking lot. I can't do anything additional or different than those 2 items. Additionally, I'm not the one that's actually directing any of the construction or the project. The project is being administered at the school level. So really, the school board is going to be the final say on what's going on at the school. I'm just basically taking care of the bills.
Okay, no, when I read that, I just, what does this mean? That's what I wanted to ask you. Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions? If there's no further questions, Lisa, can we have a roll call vote on Order 33-2021, please?
Yes, Peter Dropout,
Yes.
Ben Twitchell,
Yes.
Jerry Cleary.
yes?
Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West,
Yes.
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Ray?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
here are their time constraints.
There are time constraints.
I'd like to make a motion, we forego second reading.
Second,
Any discussion? We have a motion now on the table. Any discussion on bypassing the second reading and doing it tonight? If there's no discussion, can we have a roll call vote on order number 33-2021, second reading tonight?
Yes, Peter Drapo,
yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Jerry Curry. Joseph Gravel.
Yes.
Jeff West.
Yes?
Lee Trahan,
Yes.
and Ray Karen.
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Resolution number 42-2021, providing for the approval, thank you, Peter, very
Thanks,
much. Providing for the approval application for special amusement permit for Macross Russo Post 8835, located VFW 175 Veteran Drive, Winslow, Maine.
So moved.
By Jeff first, second by Ben. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, it's just resolution, show of hands. All those in favor, please. Raise your right hand. All those opposed? Passes unanimous. Lisa?
I recuse
One
myself from
dissenter.
that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, from that one, just because I'm a VFW
Okay,
member.
so Lee recused himself. So right now, it was 6-0 with one
Thank you.
abstain. Sorry about that. Resolution number 43-2021, providing for acceptance of forfeiture assets obtained by the Kennebec County District Attorney's Office.
So moved.
Moved by Jeff, seconded by Ben. Any discussion? Resolution, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, passes unanimous. Lisa? Moving on to discussion items, budget workshop sessions.
I asked that to be put on. In our last budget workshop session, we had discussed trying to do this during daylight hours instead of meeting. How many times did we meet, right, Sheriff?
8.
How many?
8.
8 times.
Many.
We're thinking, maybe have 2 5-hour days. I think a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day would be pushing the limit. If we did a couple of 5-hour days with lunch, I'd gladly buy lunch one of the days, and I know Ray would buy lunch the second day.
He's retired on a fixed
What
income.
about the people who are working?
You don't wanna.
If they're interested in any line items or what have you, they can either Zoom in or they can attend. Last year was my first time. Not one member of the public showed up. Not one.
They don't.
Okay, so why'd you ask that question?
Oh, no, as far as the councils.
Oh, well, we already discussed that. You've got,
Yeah, I'm the only one that works.
Enough said.
Thank you, Jeff.
well, yeah.
Yeah, your boss won't get mad at you.
So, yeah, it's just Rocky and I, and we're self-employed.
I won't be here anyway, so I'm just asking questions.
Well, yeah, but you're retired.
I know.
It was a discussion item. Are you guys all in favor of something like that for Erica to put together?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Huh? Rocky?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Ben?
Then Eric can actually go home one night.
I think it makes sense for community engagement too, because I think that's, the only thing is when the school department comes in, what about, Peter, what's your interpretation of doing something like that during the day instead of during an evening for the school department also?
Well, it becomes a little bit more difficult simply because of the players that you want to have here. You want to have the administrators there, I think, to answer questions that you might have, if we get into specifics of that nature.
I mean, we could always schedule one evening for school department only.
Yeah, I think that would be,
That I have to say, as far as other board members, a lot of our board members do work, and they already have difficulty with some of the school things we have that are during the daytime hours, let alone adding something else on top of that. It's a challenge to even get a couple of them at some things, so.
Yep. So school, we would keep on the night schedule.
I'd rather do one night than 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your feeling on that, Erica?
No, I think that's a great compromise. The number of nights that we were out last year was a lot.
And we even condensed it.
And it was, yeah, we did move some stuff together. You know, in my experience, other towns I've worked, the budget workshop portions usually were done during the day. And that was because, for the most part, the people that needed to be there being the budget departments, the accounting departments, the administration were all there during the day. In those cases, school board was included because it was school board administration coming, not like teachers and individuals that were trying to show up. And school board was more of a actual paid position, not a volunteer position like it is here. So I think that's perfectly acceptable, and anything we can move towards consolidating, do some slightly longer sessions during the day, I think is a great start. So.
Okay. So. We'll set
So
up the
I
schedule.
will set that up.
Except for the,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
With Peter, maybe do the school board one of the evenings that we did a 5, same day we did hour, one of the days.
So we could go late, have a late day session and then have school board come in to end it?
Correct.
That's an idea.
Just food for thought.
Yep. Let's make it happen. Any other discussion, any other questions on the budget workshop sessions? Moving on, charter change, increased spending limit to 250,000 without referendum.
What is it now?
100.
That's from 1969.
Yeah, that equates to 790,000 today, if we went to the same figure.
Right.
But
I think that's a little
at the time
extreme.
we talked about this, Erica ran it by Bill Lee. He was zooming in that night, and he thought that would not require a referendum vote. He didn't consider that a major change to the charter.
Correct.
If my memory serves me.
Correct. That's what he said.
And I think we can discuss it a bit. And is 250 satisfactory?
I would personally rather see it a little higher. You can't do a whole lot for 250,000 nowadays.
Well, for instance, if something catastrophic happened and you had to change a major piece of equipment out in Public Works, that would be a problem.
Yep.
So I think, Erica, if you can, next time you talk to Bill, ask him at what figure, what ceiling limit he feels would still fall under the criteria of not having to put this to referendum.
Okay.
Okay? The other thing I wanted to add to this, and this is, again, food for thought for all the counselors, is right now, we have got 2 counselors at large that come up for re-election the same year. And I personally, I'm not, as you all found out, I'm not a very political person, so I'm just gonna spit it out. I don't think that's fair to you guys. Meaning, if you have 4 to 5 people run for at large, you're gonna have a mess. That would require a charter change to move one of you to a different year.
Well, the other issue I've always had with 2 at-large councilors being elected at the same time is if you get 2 brand-new people coming in with no experience on a council at all, that's not really a great way to do it, I don't think.
But that could happen also with regular, like myself getting done. If Ray decided not to run, you'd have the same thing then. So I don't see a big difference on it.
Maybe on that.
But just to back up on your comment, you could be looking at 3 or even 3 new councilors all at once in a given year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, just 2.
No, 3.
No, 3.
3.
1, 3, and 5. The year of 1, 3, and 5.
Oh, I see what you're talking, yeah.
Well, no, just like with at-large, you have 2 at-large and you have 1
If
district.
you had one die or retire in an off year, yes. But that's the only time. Because you only have 2 running at a time throughout the whole thing. So you only have 2 new ones at any one time anyway. You wouldn't end up 3.
I just was, thinking out loud. I never understood that. Why 2 at large at the same time.
Because that way there, if somebody else wanted to run, it would have 3 people on the ballot.
Ready?
To split the votes, and then you get 2 out of the 3 are gonna win.
So there's 1 year, 1, 3, and 5. The next year is 2 and 4.
That way you're not, one person not running against one person,
we ran
they're
with
running
somebody.
against the 2. It's
So
not
what-
large, you don't have an area, you got the whole
Yeah,
town.
this year,
window.
this year
Right.
was 2.
That's why.
This year was 2 and 4.
The reason.
Yeah,
So
3.
next year is just us.
And just trying to further this conversation before we adjourn, what would be a path forward? Do we want to investigate other towns with 7 councilors or councilors? How do they deal with the at-large councilors and see?
No, I think I'm not a huge fan of looking into what other towns do. I think if we think that, if this council feels that needs to be addressed, we talk amongst ourselves, maybe with Bill Lee, and see what the alternatives may be. I think it would take some creative maneuvering.
Can I say
Yeah,
something?
go ahead, Lisa.
I just want to add that I believe we are consistent with other municipalities in how we stagger it.
Yeah. How's the school board done? You got just 1 at large?
Ours just changed in the last charter change, where it's, the at-large are going to be together. We're right in the middle of the transition right now, so I think the current at-large seat is going to, was just elected with a 3-year. One will come up next year for a 2-year term to get them on that cycle, so it'll be
They'll be together?
3, 2, and 2, the at-large are together and.
Yeah, see, so they just moved to being together.
For
The
originally,
last charter change.
Yeah.
So it's not fully.
Yeah.
While we're on that subject, what are you doing with District 3?
We're looking for viable candidates, so the seat's been open for about 10 months. So it would be nice if we had some people interested, of which the board can appoint. But we'd like to have.
We did have one lady take out papers, but I don't think she got the signatures.
Right.
And District 3 includes what part of town, Joel, so that as people are listening right now?
That's where you are.
that's mine.
Oh, it's what you
Good area, so,
Oh, I thought
but it's
3
like
was-
Halifax Street over
Clinton.
toward, Clinton Avenue,
Bay
goes
Street.
out toward, out of Clinton Avenue. But,
And,
Ron
Bay
Murray
Street.
was in the seat for quite a while, he was in Marvell Terrace. The last was Corey Dow, he was on out of Clinton Avenue, just beyond Smiley's. But it goes over toward Cushman, but there's a little piece of Monument, I think, that's not in there, that fits into one of the other districts.
No, Monument is in there.
Isn't it?
All of Monument.
All of them, okay.
Bay Street, the bridge. is-
Well, anyway, it is listed online on the town website by street and by map.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And who do they contact, Joe? They contact the
well, they can
superintendent?
contact me, my information's
Yep.
on there, and of course, if the board's gonna appoint, we'd be the ones that put it on the agenda to weigh that, so.
So you said you put both of your at-large
Together.
together?
It's just.
Same electric.
It's working that way.
Yeah,
And
I had to say, we didn't put it together, the charter commission, or whatever, they
People who are on
proposed
the
the change.
change.
people on what council?
This council, they did a charter change, they had a charter commission within the council here. I remember you were on it, Ken Tuck was on it, and they made these
Gary,
changes.
Ken, and maybe someone else.
Yeah.
For what reason? Were you on it?
We were,
We-
we were a 4 and 3, and then an off year.
Okay,
So then, the idea of spreading that out so you don't have big losses,
okay.
I guess kind of makes sense, but there's advantages to an at-large being the same year as other district seats too.
Exactly.
So it can go either way, you know, in some cases, you know, we've had members that have gone to at-large because there was somebody else in their district that was interested in serving. And since we've had a lack of people that are interested in serving, having the ability for somebody to move to an at-large, so somebody else can take a district seat, or vice versa.
Okay.
Maybe explain that backwards, but, you know, so it can go either way.
But you had 4 and 3.
We have
before
4
this.
and 3.
Okay.
It's transitioning to 3-3-2.
This way here evens it all up.
Yeah.
Any other further questions on, if there's no further questions, I'll have a
So
motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Second.
Ben first, Jerry second, on a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, meeting is adjourned.